So we're just at about 3 minutes past the hour, so I think we can get started shortly here. What do you think, Julia?
Yeah, let's start.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you all for coming to our Structure 7 Expert 2 Bootcamp, our first session. Let's jump right into it. So yeah, we'll start very briefly with a little bit of an introduction and just some general housekeeping, and then I'll just hand it over. Normal webinar rules are going to apply. Your microphones are going to be muted. I see some of you already started using the Q&A feature. Please, ask as many questions as you like. We will try to answer as many as we can on here, but if not, we'll be answering them via text, or if any aren't gotten to, we'll be responding after the webinar. We are being recorded, so be aware we're all on the record today. Next slide, please. And yeah, this is our speaker today, Julia A., our product manager here at ALM Works. She knows all about structure, and she is going to tell us all sorts of exciting things that are now available in Expr 2. It's also worth mentioning we do have another guest on the webinar here who will be helping to answer our questions. Our CEO Igor is going to be here. So yeah, we've got some great experts. Hopefully we can get some great questions. Before we start, I'd like to take a little poll and just kind of see where we are with the audience as far as your experience with Expr. So yeah, let's start and just ask a simple question. Tell us a little bit about your formula experience. Wow, it looks like people are pretty quick to fill this out. It looks like we're almost done. Got about 3/4 of people, so we'll give them a couple more seconds to finish up here. Yeah, so it looks like almost everyone answered. We have quite an interesting mix. So it looks like 3/4 of people are new to formulas. We've definitely got some experienced people on the call, and it looks like one person is a formula expert. So I'll be interested to see if we can spot who that one expert is. But yeah, without further ado, Julia, please take it away.
Okay, so thank you all for coming. I hope you will find something interesting today. I do not know if I can surprise the person who is experienced one, but yeah, we'll try, do my best. So this particular webinar is about structure DC and server functionality. There is no such features on cloud so far, but will be moved soon. We have plans for several bootcamp sessions, and today is the basic one. So we are going to highlight really basic things we have in our formula. We will also have a next session for advanced users. Probably 25% should be there, or at least there too, an additional to today's session. So yeah, we will cover changes between previous version of a language and the new version released in Structure 7.0. And we also will have an expert hour. It is a meeting where we can answer all your questions. So it is the agenda without any presentation. We will just answer questions, and if you do not have one, you can just come and see what other people ask. So today we are going to talk about formula, how to create one, how to start with formulas, where you can find some materials about that. And we also will write down some basic formulas which can help you to track and prioritize your tasks, or identify blockers, track dependencies, or some data or time and status by department, visualize your progresses, and how to share this thing with your colleagues. So let's start with basic. So Expr language, pronounced like Expr as an expert. It is a language that we use in different parts of structure and even plugins for structure, apps for structure. So you can use this language inside special column, like formula column. You can use this language in grouping or filtering functionality. You can sort by such formulas. You can use formulas in effectors. Probably you know that there are such functionality in structure, which can help you to synchronize data from your like calculated fields, like formula or calculated by structure.gantt plugin, and you can synchronize this data into the Jira field. Yeah, and you also can use formulas inside structure Gantt app. So you can define how to calculate progress, or how to, you can define the start and end date in scheduling settings of Gantt, or you can define how to choose the resource in your Jira via formula tool. So let's do our first steps in formula. And, you know, when you start to learn Unix, the first command should be like manual. And let's do the same here. So the first step you need to know, it's how to add a column. As other columns, you can just click on plus button, type formula. And here we are. This is a formula editor where you can type your own formulas. And the first thing you need to know is the question mark button. So clicking on this button, you can see the documentation about formula. It is important that there is a sample formulas page. So you can find some formulas which you can just copy and paste into your instances. And also some basics and descriptions of changes we did in structure 7. So let's write down our first formula. Let it be this one. So I can use all arithmetic operations, pretty the same as you do in Excel. And today is a function that show me today, like the date of today, and created should be a field of the data, the date when the task has been created. Let's save a formula. You can see strange results here. Let's move it a little bit. So you can see the result. And as you see here, something happened and created has been added to variables part. So if I write down something that named in the same manner as the field in your Jira, structure will use this field as a variable. And if I just write down like X here and try to save such formula, structure will show me that something goes wrong. I need to define the variable. Clicking here, I can say, what does this X mean? Let's say create it again. So the next problem, I see milliseconds here, but I can easily change the format of the data. Since it's dates minus date minus date, it will be a duration format, so I can choose it right here and see like weeks, days, as in the same manner as you see in your Jira duration type fields. But you can do it in other way. If you use formula outside of the formula column, you can just change the type of the result right here. Let's use format, duration, and check. So see, it's the same result. So you can either define the format right in the formula itself, or define it via column settings if you use formula inside the column. As you see, we also have some button here. So if there is some calculations you did and you want to summarize them in a hierarchy, you can use this checkbox too. Let's do other operations. Let's say I want to summarize something. For example, time spent and remaining time. I believe a lot of people use time tracking inside Jira. And again, I can change format to duration and see how many days we spent already and how many days and weeks remaining. Okay, also about these variables, you can use all columns here and all Jira fields too. How to use a column? Let's say I will create one formula. Get rid of this one and do it again. As in my first example, I will create a formula with today date and use the like that. And add another formula column. Here I can use like today minus created as I had previously, and I need to define the variable. Can choose the formula, like today formula right here under the used in column part. Voila, and it's pretty the same. Define the duration format and see the same values as it was before. Okay, so the next step, how you can do all that things easier. We have built-in formulas. You can find them again in plus button. I will show it for you too. There are a lot of formulas which you can use as a template or just use by scratch. From scratch. So if you know the name of the formula you're going to use, like in, I know that there is one defined in that name. I can just search here and add this formula to the list, or I can just scroll down and try to find the calculated part. So it is right here. As you see, there are a lot of different examples, including VSGF one. Probably if you use SAFe methodology, you know this name. It's weighted shortest job first, so it's kind of do smallest thing faster, smallest and more important things faster. We will talk about that formulas a little bit later. So yeah, how to use these formulas as a template. Let's say this in formula. What's here? First of all our formulas, like built-in ones, have some comments, so you can understand what happened inside. Let's go through the example itself. There is some conditions here. So if the due date is not empty, all these things will be run. We also can define variables which can be used only inside this particular formula via with expression. So time left is a variable which can be used just inside this particular formula and not outside of it. So let's say time left is due date minus now or today or something you can use here. So this variable will be used in this part of my code, my formula code. Again, I have another condition here. So if time left is more than 0, we will just show the time left. Else, we will show the text overdue. You can see it right here in my formula result. And we have more tricks, so we can a little bit improve this. Probably a lot of people want to highlight this, especially overdue tasks, so we can colorize it. Formula allows you to use wiki markup inside. It's a little bit tricky syntax, but it's really important functionality, I'd say. So I just add color. Let's try this one. As you see, right now it's just text here and nothing in red color because I didn't choose the format option. If I choose the wiki markup, it is red now. But you see that format for for duration changed because we use wiki markup now. You can avoid this thing by write down the format duration as I did before. Okay, let's go to my presentation again. This is actually, yeah, the overdue example, and note that I use wiki markup option here. You can do more tricky thing, like use different colors for different types of results. So you can see something like that. If you go through this formula, we use red color if it's overdue, so it's less than 7 days after the today, and if it's between today and due date more, if time between today and due date more than 7 days, we will show their tick, and use just blue color and need due date if it is not defined, as you see on this slide. And in this example, you can see that you're able to use all like pictures or emojis, and I really saw a lot of different possibilities during sessions with our customers. So some of them use different colors of stars or different pictures, really, like use cloud if something not defined or things like that. So be creative here. Structure allows you. And next topic I would like to highlight is that formula column and formula itself can help you to work with links. I'm sure you have a lot of dependency between tasks in your Jira, and it can be a pain point for managers. So let's see how it can be, how we can improve this. I will just use the same formula, delete everything from here. So let's write down the issue links. Yeah, I didn't say about that. In new version in structure 7, you can use items like issue links or fixed version. I will show the fixed version a bit later, but again, here in the documentation, we have a list of different types you can use inside the structure. Well, one example is issue links. So I can use properties, some attributes of issue links inside the formula. So let's say issue links dot filter, and I want to show all issues with link type blocks. Let's see if it's really true. So here I have, let's switch on the horizontal scrolling. So this particular task have blocks and blocks by links, and both of them are shown in the in my column. It's the link one. If you want to define the direction, for example, you want to show all tasks that blocks this issue, let's add the destination of your link here. Destination, I believe. Yeah, and right now just one link is shown in the column. You also can, if you want to analyze what kind of links you have in your project or in your set of issues you define for the for this particular release, or whenever you have in your structure, you can just group by issue link type name, for example, and see how many blocks issues you have or duplicates or things like that, if you want to analyze this. I also want to highlight this example. So formula can help you like show something, not just the link itself, but like show, okay, if all blockers are resolved. So resolution is not empty, things like that. Yeah, another example is about subtasks. And as you see on this screen, I also can write down like subtask.size as a condition here, and use status. So see if all my subtasks are done. And this is really important if you already familiar with structure and the previous Expr version. We were able to use just data from the tasks inside of the structure. So if the task wasn't added to the structure, we were not able to use data from there. But it has been changed in structure 7.0. Now you can just show, so you can just type subtask.size or things like that, and do not add this subtask to the structure, but yeah, use the data from these tasks. This is also important example. I believe you saw a situation then one task came from one sprint to another, and probably you are interested in how many sprints this task was added to. So let's see how we can track such things easier. So let's say we have a structure and it's grouped by sprint. We will add the formula again. Let's move it a little bit. And write down the formula like sprint dot size. You see that some tasks has been already added to 2 sprints, not 1. And if you open the details of these tasks, you can see that one sprint, actually one sprint is closed, completed one, and another one is active. So you can track your sprints and plan them easier. What else? Finally, we will talk about fixed versions. I believe it's also really common use case when you want to highlight dates from the fixed versions or dates of your sprints. You can do it now also easily in the structure. So let's use another formula editor. By the way, we also have a full screen editor. You can write down more complex structure here, more complex formulas here. But let's use just the small one. Expression dot release date. And yeah, right now you can see the error because I didn't wrote the property I want to highlight. Date. So as I already said, you can use attributes from your Jira, like fixed version or subtasks or users, things or work log, and use properties of or attributes of these items. For example, fixed version, and I can use the start date, let's say, or resolve date, release date. I also can actually group by this kind of formulas. Let's use it in a grouper. Probably you know that we have our automation rules. They can help you to build the structure itself. So let's click here and add a grouper. To add grouper by formula, you need to use attribute here and type formula here. Let's save and see what happened. Again, you see strange numbers here. It's not a date, right? Let's use the format function. I believe it format date time for dates, and you can define in which format you're gonna show this particular date. Let's say it's year and then month and then date. Try again. Yeah, well, I group my tasks by fixed version date, and it is impossible in your Jira. We also can use some dates in conditions, of course, and align your plans by like showing how many, what's the maximum of story points assigned to some particular topic, issue, or epic, or things like that. Go next. This is about sorting. As I already shown, you can use the formula inside groupers, but you also can use them inside. You can just sort by the column. Let's add this VSGF1 and talk about that. So if you're familiar with SAFE, you probably know what does it mean, and you probably will be interested in the template we have from the SAFE materials. You can define what does this names means in your Jira. Just define Jira fields, or you can use other formulas we built here. It is our example how we use it in ILM works, what kind of prioritization we have. It based on well, Jira values, but you still need to define what does this mean. And we have a small introduction how we do this. And we also have like a basic VSGF, and it is the one that can be calculated on all Jira instances, because we use just Jira basic fields here, like due dates or story points, everything you have in all Jira instances. And yeah, then I can just click on the header of my column and choose what task I should do in the beginning. Go next. If you use comments in your Jira, you probably have the situation that you need to know who did their last comment, or who did their comment on that particular day. And this is also possible with structure after 7.1 actually. And I also prepared the formula for if you want to just write down the text answered if somebody add a comment after you. And let's try to just write down workflow dot oh, not workflow, we talk about comments. Offer. So you can see who is the author of the comment, and if will be more comments here, like that, you will see all people who added comments into this particular task. Okay, what next? Yeah, you also can track time in different by departments. Let's say this is example from our structure. We defined separate columns per statuses, and then summarize them, like see the total time in different statuses and colorize if something goes wrong or everything is okay. We also use formula column for VIP limits. So if you use Kanban methodology, you probably will be interested in this example. And it also colorized here. We have a lot of customers who are really too creative, probably. They even created small burn down charts via formula, or these colorful progress bars. All these examples we have formulas for these examples we have on our wiki. You can open this page with question mark link. And when you define some formulas, you probably will want to share it with your colleagues or with your bosses. You can do it by clicking on share button or by adding the gadget with structure on your dashboard. This is mostly it. So today we learn how to find documentation about formulas. We learn how to track and prioritize these tasks, how to identify different types of links and blockers, and how to track this dependency, how to track data, and how to share this information with your team. Once again, if you're lost with formula, you can click on this question mark button. And we also started our structure community in Slack. So you can join and ask questions there, or if you do not want to, you can just ask us in our support channel or today. So the next thing is questions.
Yeah, so we've got quite a lot of questions. Her and I have been trying to field them all, but we do have a couple. Somebody asked specifically about the health column.
I see the health button. Yeah.
So that might be a great one to start with here.
Okay. Yeah. It's actually the formula itself is not tricky, but we use wiki markup for this formula. So we use like a coloring, like background color inside, and link to the picture as PNG, and also define the sizes of this picture. And that's all. But the formula itself depends on the progress of the task. Yeah.
Great.
Again,
how can we retrieve formula fields into a Jira issue? So have we done that, like a formula referencing another formula?
Trick with another formula. Okay, let's do it again. Let's say I have this. I can do one more example. Let's say you have time spent or time and status column added to your Jira. If you do not know, we have this special column where you can just define the status and see how many days or hours you spend, or even use the status categories. Let's use this one. So, yeah, with this.
Great.
And then I add the formula and say, let's to do minus, I don't know, something like original estimate.
Mm-hmm.
There is no to-do field inside your Jira, so variables is not defined right now. I can click on this to-do text and say found the using column thing, and say use time and status column.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all. And again, I can define what kind of format I'm gonna use here. This should be the duration, right?
Yeah, this is one that actually came up a couple of times. Are there plans to support autocomplete in the formula?
Tricky question. Well, we have this task in our backlog, to be honest, but yeah, not in the nearest releases.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then what's the best way to use a formula column across multiple views?
Well, we have a task about like sharing formulas inside the structure. So right now you can just save a view, and this is the only possibility. So if I want to save this formula, I need to save like the whole bunch of columns I have right now in my structure. This is the only way, but we are going to add possibilities to like save formula for your own or for your structure or just for the whole Jira instance. It will be in the next year, I suppose.
Mhm. Yeah, this one is a little bit of an interesting one. Is it possible to use 2 or 3 ifs in a formula?
I actually believe I showed some examples, like this do in. Should be with 2 ifs. Again. Yeah, so this is like a first if, and this is the next if inside first if. So if due date is set, all this code will be calculated, yeah, will be run. If not, nothing happened. It will be just empty cell. And I also saw actually a question about the background color. So here, yeah, in health column, we used background color, and it colorized only one cell. So if you asked about the color for the whole row, it is not possible so far. So just one cell.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah, so this is a good one. If we refer a formula column across other formula columns, will structure perform the calculation multiple times, or is it going to save it?
This is a tricky one, and you need to be careful if you use one formula inside of another one, because it works as copy, not link. So you probably know that in Excel, if you write down one formula and use it as a variable in another one, then you change the first one, second one will be changed too. It is not the case for structure. So if you use one formula inside another one and change the first one, nothing will happen with the second one. So it's kind of copying, not linking between columns. Yeah, this is good to know. It's a really great question.
This one looks to be a little longer, but I think we might be able to get to it. We use time and status to measure the time of transitions, but it's only possible to measure the time between two, either A to B or AB to Z or A to C. Then I have to create each possible transition in a column and then build the sum over all of them. Will there be a function to measure the time between two states, or do you have another idea what to do to, for instance, to script runner functions? So yeah, so they're basically saying, I want to find how much time between like two different states, and let's say that state is done, just to make it nice and simple. If I want to find out the difference between all other states, I'd need to do something like difference between in progress and done, difference between to do and done, difference between other states and done, and then just kind of like sum them all up. Is there a nice way to get at this information in Expr?
I do not know such possibilities, to be honest. So we, in our structures, like internal in LLM works, we just created several columns, to be honest. Nick, do you know quite an answer?
I think there might be a nice way to do this one, but I was wondering if there was a quick answer. So I think we should sorry, no, Igor, please, our saving grace.
Yeah, hey guys, I just can chime in and say that we're currently working on allowing Expr to access change history of issues. That's in the works, so it's going to be released, in the nearest future. And then, sky is the limit. You can go through the change history. You can make a filter of, figuring out which changes you're interested in, then analyze the time when the change happened, and do all this calculation. That would lead to a pretty complicated formula. So we will also think about providing some functions that would help you build this formulas easier.
Yeah, so if I can condense that into a soundbite, I think the answer is we're really close. So I think once we have this history feature, we'll be able to do this. But yeah, there's not a nice, quick, easy way to do that today. But I'd be happy to follow up and we can maybe find a workaround or something like that. Then this one, is it possible to group by both epic and work log author? So I think they're talking about grouping by an epic and then grouping by a formula, which would be the work log author.
So yeah, you can
Yep, so we
group
can
by, let's say, clock. I believe it is. Oh no, something happened with more clocks. Okay, let's use other formulas, like sprint dates or something. By the way, the Expr is case insensitive, so I can write down with upper or lower case. It doesn't matter, but I should write down right letters, you know, and date time. No. And then by, let's say, epic, just or assignee or epic or whenever you have in your Jira. Yeah, I can change the like order of these groupers, but please be careful with levels. So on which level you want to use this grouping feature. I even can group epics by like task inside epic by, let's say, assignee.
Yeah.
Things.
I think I know the answer to this one, but let's just ask it anyways. Is it possible to perform user management operations like visualize emails from Jira project members with formulas?
Yeah, I believe we have special like username and other functions.
Yeah, we have a section on user functions specifically.
Yeah.
I think they're just called user functions.
Yeah, thank you.
User related.
User related.
There we are.
Yeah.
So close.
Username and display name and email for sure. Yeah, and email. So let's try one. It's not defined. It's not. Oh.
Yeah, we might not have any real values in there for assignees because we're in a demo instance, but this works in theory.
Yeah, but it works.
This is an interesting one. I hear this one kind of a lot, and we've had some similar questions around this. Is there a function to count the number of items in a sprint and then show plus or minus if any items get added or removed to that sprint?
So we want to know if any task has been added after the
sprint so we
start?
basically want to know if the items in our sprint are changing. So if we've got some items at the beginning of the sprint, we want to know if one item moves away or one item gets moved in. So scope creep or descoping.
Well, I think that history support will solve this problem.
So again, I think once we have the history, we'll be able to do this, but not a nice way to do it today.
Yeah, there is no way so far.
This is a fun one, actually. I haven't seen this before. Will we be able to expand the types of emojis and symbols we can use in the column?
This is a good one. Well, since you can use all like links to your pictures, it's like unlimited possibilities here.
Yeah, we can, any image you want, we can put in there. So yeah, we can, and we have a lot of emojis built in with Wiki Markup, right?
Yeah, by Wiki Markup, I mean all that you have in description of your task. So if we click here, you can see like a lot of things you can use by default.
And then this is a nice easy one. I may have missed, are indentations required for the Expr language or just spacing in general?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
So you were asking about spacing, like indentation. So Expr doesn't care about spacing, right?
Yeah, doesn't care. Yeah.
Great. To test if a value or field is empty, do you recommend the open-ended if syntax and taking action based on the else clause? So like if something, do nothing, else do stuff here, or should we say if not field, do something?
Oh, that's a good question. Igor, can you help me here?
So, Nick, can you repeat that? Whether we should test?
Yeah. So if we make a formula that says like if variable, and we want to do something if that variable doesn't exist, should we write the formula if not variable, or should we write it if variable, do nothing, else do something?
Okay. So the question is, what does it mean the variable doesn't exist? So if you write a word like, due date or X, Y, Z, that is a variable, right? And you have to map it to something like a field in Jira. And then if that field is empty, for example, it's not configured for the issue that you're calculating the formula for, then it's going to be empty, right? There's a special value in Expr called undefined. You can find it in the reference documentation. And so that undefined will then be used in the formula. So in case you write like in the formula that we're looking at right now, if due date, if that field due date was not defined for this issue, then it would be empty, and that if will not proceed, right? You will have the else part, if it was here, proceed. So it doesn't really matter, to answer your question briefly. It doesn't really matter. You can write if due date or if not due date, according to the logic that you want to do.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I guess we don't have a particular best practice around that, but yeah, both are valid.
More questions coming.
No, we have a lot of questions. I'm just trying to, find good ones and try to get to as many as we can.
Yeah, while Nick is looking for another question, I saw a couple of questions about performance.
Please go ahead.
So I just wanted to make a couple of notes about performance, and we are very much aware, the entire team, about the performance, and we designed these features carefully. So formula, granted, it's getting more power in structure 7. So we took extra steps to make sure that it's not, it's not hazardous. So there are certain safeguards in the formula. For example, if you write such a formula that takes many steps to calculate, you will end up in an error, right? That just says that, okay, that this is too much. So that's better than just overloading your Jira server. So there's a lot of thinking that went into that. We did a lot of testing. Still, you can see that sometimes, especially if you have a large structure, like tens of thousands of issues, and then you calculate the formulas that aggregate the values across the whole structure, right? So you can write the formulas that take the total of something over 10,000 issues. That may take some time to calculate, and then you will see these dots in the cell while it's being calculated. But it's still very much, it's going to proceed, and it's not going to harm the Jira server, because once it starts getting really bad, it will just stop. So that's my comment on the performance.
I saw a question about the reporting, and so you can click on share button and generate the link that you can just send to your colleagues. We also have built-in Expr to Excel and just as a printable page, so we can print it or add somewhere. We have gadgets, and according to PDFs, we have integration with Exporter, and I believe they had special template for structure. I don't remember if it's PDF or something else, but doc for sure. So yeah, try to look at exporter plugin.
Yeah, so this is a really nice one. I think we've touched on a little bit, but is there a nice way we can add description metadata to columns and transformations to make them more user-friendly for non-coders?
So like have some templates or?
I mean, I think I'm thinking comments, like, you know, some comments to explain the code. I think that's really the only way we can do
Comments.
a description.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah, so we can have like a little comment section, and I highly recommend you put comments in your formulas.
Yeah, especially the big ones.
This is a good one. Do we have any performance measurements with like an easy formula, like time spent plus remaining in scale for like more than 10,000 items in a structure? So like, do we have like a benchmark, like a simple formula on a 10,000 issue structure should look like this?
I do not know exact numbers right now, but yeah, our performance tests has been done for, we have 3 measurements for 1,000 of issues, for 10,000, and for 100,000. So all of them are pretty nice.
I could add that, you know, simple formulas like that, they will not be calculated for all the issues in your structure until, you know, you see that those issues. Right?
Yeah, because it's lazy loaded based on what you can see on
exactly. Yeah. It's only when you start doing the totals that have to go through all the issues, then, you know, start to get hairy. And still, you know, we can do that in, I would say for 10,000 issues, I think it's a matter of a few seconds.
This is a fun one. I'm not sure if this will be a quick, easy one, but I know we can do it. I wonder if we could put a formula at the epic level that takes all issues underneath and based on statuses gives you an output summary, such as like 2 in needs analysis, 4 in ready for review. So could we like group them by their statuses and give a count?
Group by statuses and count, like.
Yes, that's possible. We can. There's a variable called epic stories, right? So if you calculate it on an epic level, even if you don't have the stories in your structure, through epic stories, you can access an array of all the issues that are the stories associated with that epic. And then from there, you can basically do what you just asked. I didn't catch all of that, but there's, you know, you can get statuses of those stories. Then there's a grouping function that lets you, group this references by the status, and then you can use the size function to get the amount of stories in each group. I think we're going to be covering some of that in our next session about advanced formulas and the array related functions.
Yeah, definitely get into a lot more complexity when we start doing more iteration and things like that.
And this is an example of epic stories usage. So, yeah.
Is there a way to build a structure in Jira elements different than issues, i.e. create structure for a fixed version on a project and show its status, begin and release dates, things like that?
Well, structure is always working with issues, but this like result of grouping also can be copied and pasted. I can show you one trick. Let's say we have our like tasks here, and when we will group them, let's say by assignee, and then I can just copy this guy.
And we could do the same thing with fixed versions to group by them, but we need issues with those fixed versions in the board.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's just add some.
So structure primarily is, as Julia said, is for working with issues, and all these other items. It can support it and can support working with it, but they appear in structure as a result of grouping or some other operations on issues. Right? Well, there is a way to kind of trick the system and get these items there. So somehow, I don't think that's a manageable thing. We'll be happy to hear about your use cases. Why would you want to have this structure of metadata, and perhaps we can make some improvements or an extension for structure that does exactly that. So please reach it back to us.
Yeah, this is another interesting one that I think should be a short formula we could do. Is it possible to show the average time in a sprint of a group of issues, but exclude issues that say have like less than 1 day? So like, could we, and it's like an average of all the stories in the sprint that are not, 1 story point or lower?
Well, I believe we can just, write it down later, or do you want to do this right now?
I think this is one we can do right now. This is a quick one.
I can pass it to you.
So we'll need to put all the stories in the sprint into a structure, right? So
we need to group the stories by a sprint already, and then we could build a formula to answer this question.
Okay, let's add tasks and then group them by sprint. By the way, we have a special column with counts. Like you check.
I think we'll need, if I got the question correctly, we need what average time?
Yeah, average, but we want to exclude ones that are like less than 1 story point or less than 1 day or some sort of criteria.
So we can do like the values aggregate function. So if you, Julia, want to write values, figure braces, and then your story points inside. Yeah, and then dot average. You have date format, I think. We need to change.
Yeah. Sorry. I probably don't have story points.
Average. It's average.
Oh yeah, if we have original estimate, they actually said 1 day. I think they were talking original estimate. I just thought we might have story points, but yeah, I thought of this in a very different way. I thought of average with an if inside of it would be the way to go.
Yeah, it should be easier. Like if,
so yeah, if
story points
if estimate is greater than 1 day, and then we return estimate, and then we and then we just wrap that in an average.
Nick, I was going to follow up with other questions.
I
Maybe
think,
we can include that in the.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to get too deep down into this one. But yeah, we can definitely do that. And this is another nice one. Is there a way to define personal functions? So can we create our own functions?
Yes, we can. I think we'll also
I think that'll
cover that in the next session. That's more extensive.
But actually, we're actually a little bit past the hour now, so we've already gone late. We do have a few questions that we have not answered. We really appreciate that so many of you have joined and so many of you have participated and asked questions. We will get to all of these questions, but I think that's kind of all we have for the Q&A session here. As I mentioned, we will be sending the recording along. We'll also send an application to join our Slack channel. That's another great place to get those resources and ask further follow-up questions. But yeah, if you did ask a question, we will definitely get back to you. And thank you so much for joining the call today.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.